Yo, what's up, YouTube? The Banished podcast here, and this is episode number 2 or 3. I forget the number. And we've got a pretty poignant discussion concerning the new leaders. You could say the rise and recent fall of the Mantis rush, which we've all experienced either firsthand or had it happen to us. So, what do you guys think of it? It's too overpowered, obviously, but overall, why is it overpowered?
Not this shit again, dude. What are you doing? Come on, man. Fuck
you
off,
guys
bro.
didn't say anything. You just sat there for like 20
You're
seconds.
fucking remember this shit too. Fucking assist. Open your damn fucking mouth.
I wanted to see how long it could go on for.
It's just
How do you feel about it? Go ahead. Express yourself.
This isn't going on YouTube. We have to start all over again.
Oh my god, you're the worst.
Start over.
You're the one who fucked it up.
3,
Sherman
2,
expert here.
1. Yo, what's up, YouTube? Banished podcast here. This is episode number 2 or 3, and today we're going to be discussing the rise of the Jeremy Mantis rush, or just the leader rushes in general, which have been added because of DLC, and also the recent fall with the update, which has kind of changed a few things and made it less powerful. So, what do you guys think?
Well, firstly, I just want to jump in and say you're about to get roasted in the comment section below for calling him Jeremy.
That's his name.
Be damn prepared for
Is that the only thing I'm going to get roasted for in the intro?
There's a
no.
silent
Did I do
Y.
anything else? I don't think I did anything else.
Wait, are we supposed to... I'm Slick from Breaking
Silent
the Clutch. I'm joined by Nick and Andrew from Team Respawn, Ed Peter from Ed Peter.
Go figure.
Greetings and
All right,
salutations.
Name dropper.
We're great at this podcast thing. Anyway, I'm really excited. Let's just talk about let's talk about our emotions and the antidepressants we've been on in therapy after the dawn of the Jerome Mantis Rush meta. Let's talk about how the devs managed to allow a anti-infantry, anti-vehicle, anti-air unit that has basically endless HP, and if it dies, you can respawn it within seconds. And endless it's just crazy, right? They allowed that to happen, and not only that, you can get it before 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and it'll be at your front door. How did we feel after that happened? What do we think after all these amazing balance and patch notes came out, and then that happened to us in our first games?
I mean,
Waited.
it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Every single leader has had some sort of issue, whether it's them being OP or something. There's always been something, hasn't there? And whether it's good or bad, but this time I don't even know if this is good or bad. I mean, it's good for the people that have Jeremy or Jerome, but really bad for everyone else which doesn't have it. But the changes that they've done, they've over doubled the amount of time it takes to get the Mantis, haven't they? And they've also made it have significantly less HP. And
25 to 70 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's quite a long time.
That's to recall it in after it dies. So that's like,
right?
Because in the past, you just essentially what you do with that Jerome is you'd walk up with the Mantis. You could be, doesn't matter. You're in a field of 20,000 Marines, Jackrabbits, Ghosts, and your Mantis just drops. You just walk your Jerome away because somehow he's also a god and is not fucking even hurt at all. And then you go calls in the Mantis again, which not only can be called in within 25 seconds, again, full HP ready to go, but it also causes an area of effect splash damage when it lands in the spot it's called in. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, you'd see these players like, I remember I tried so hard competitively to beat multiple players in the 2s, 3s, and singles ladder who did this play. They'd walk up with their Mantis and they wouldn't call it, or they'd walk up with their Jerome, not calling the Mantis. And then I'd have a shield gen coming up as like a quick tech, and then they'd drop the Mantis down on my shield generator, get it like basically half health to one shot, and then just throw a couple nades at it, and then just keep the absolute havoc going on my base. And this would all happen before the 4-minute mark. It's like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. But anyway, without further ado, that is basically going to be obliterated with all these nerfs, and I'm glad they did that. How do you guys feel about the fact that, like I said, they allowed that to slip through? Like, are you unimpressed? Are you disappointed in the devs? Like, how do you feel about that?
I would go on record to say that I don't think that they QA, or they really don't anticipate what happens with these leaders, like what people will do. I mean, I really don't think that they know that, oh, hey, we're making a leader with a Mantis drop ability thing. Do you think people are going to rush with it? Because maybe, just maybe they believe that people who rush don't have any skill.
Wow. Fucking
Yeah.
politics over here.
All right, there's
I
more
know.
comments roasting Andrew.
Triggered.
All right, everybody in the comment section, please say hashtag Team Respawn sucks. Thank you. Just wanted to add
Thanks.
That's
that.
already a pretty formidable hashtag that you.
Yeah,
that
I
you've
mean, we
kinda just
agree.
resurfaced.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
There's
I'll tell you
shit
one
over there.
thing.
Uh-oh.
I don't think they have enough time to test the shit that they
Exactly.
add to the game
Yeah.
because every single month they've got a new leader. That's
Yeah.
not enough time. That's like.
And also,
they
how many
delayed
people
the
do they
leaders
have
anyway.
left actually making these characters, monitoring
Right.
them? I mean, the resources probably cut. The CA's probably moved on. They probably got like a handful of people doing that. Plus, they got to balance in 12 other leaders. I don't know what we're up to, but 12 or 14, somewhere in that range. It's a lot to manage, and we'll say that
yeah.
we'll assume it's a small team. They all don't have they might not all have the mentality of let's rush this, let's sit back and relax kind of gameplay. They can't anticipate everything. If this was a part of the launch, maybe you could say, how did you not figure this? You had a full team in the background. We're 4 or 5 months in. They have a small team, I'm assuming, resources cut, doing the best they can. They can't anticipate something like that. So I'm fine with it. And they patched it very quickly. It only took a couple days. They let it fly, let it live its life out, see if anything else popped up. Okay, good. Let's patch it now. They did the right thing.
Yeah.
And
I think the
also,
way
you
they fixed
gotta
it is
realize
good.
on top of that there's also the Awakening the Nightmare expansion pack that they're probably all hands on deck for, as well as the UNSC campaign missions that are part of the season pass they're working on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's not
there's
like
tons
they're
of other stuff coming
it's
out.
not like they don't have anything else to do than to QA the leaders or whatever. They, like I'd said, they probably just have a bunch of stuff to do, and you just can't rule out any possibilities that players are going to do. That's kind of the point of betas and demos before games come out, so they can get heat maps and analytics and things and see what players are actually doing. But with DLC, you really can't beta test DLC, can you? So they probably just release it like, oh,
Destiny
everyone's
did.
doing this. Huh?
You say Destiny? Oh God.
Yeah.
There's
Thanks.
some more comment roasting coming out. Just you guys are just full
Yeah.
of it. All right, so
I
that's
think
good.
the way they fixed it was dodgy. Like, why not just make the Mantis upgrade a level 2 thing? That would completely stop
I thought that was the right way to go about it.
I think the term
Yeah.
you're looking for, Ed, instead of dodgy, was shady.
Oh, Jesus.
Shady.
Hashtag
Yeah, I
shady.
mean, hashtag Shady Mantis.
Yeah,
Put that on a
that's
shirt.
the one. Shirt coming out, Team Respawn next year on the season. Check out the fall store. Link below. Hashtag
fall store.
www.teamrespawnshirts.com.
No, but
Ooh,
seriously,
that's
do you
a good
think
URL,
having it as
actually.
So it's a brilliant URL.
It's
Anyway.
only like $5.
Do you seriously think that having the Mantis as a level 2 upgrade would fix it? Because I think it would.
Yeah.
Because by the time you've got to level 2, you can have Cyclopses out, you can have air units out. I
The
think
game
that
is
just makes
wide
it-
open at Tech 2 for any player.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be as big of a deal, even if they just left the initial hit points and damage that it did from day one. I think it would still be okay if it was a Tech 2 unlock.
Yeah, well,
I think
it's a
they've
damn
made
strong
it kind of
unit.
useless now.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, well, here's their thought process probably. So with introducing this whole hero meta, right? Because if you think about it, actually, I said this in a video that will be coming out in a week or so, spoiler, but also Ryan, also known as Uncut Precision, he is a moderator for the BTC Discord. He's an awesome guy, very avid. We call him the Bill Nye of Halo Wars. A lot of his opinions are really valid, and one thing he stated was that hero units in general, even before this new patch and the balance update and the push of the heroes to the early game meta, they really weren't viable at all. Like, if you think about it at all, like their most viable moments are early game. So the fact that the devs have actually pushed them to be early game, I guess, worthy is very good, I think, for the overall meta. And I don't know if you guys are experienced with, say, Warcraft 3, but that's a very hero meta intensive game where, say, that's what you have is you have your hero from your faction, and then you go out and you just wreck house and you start making other units to support it. I think that was kind of the goal that CA had in mind, 343 had in mind, was to not only, say, have these hero units that are extremely well associated with these leaders, say say Decimus and the Warlord and Atriox and the Chosen. Those units are like heavily associated with these leaders. So I think they're just trying to push them out, keep them more canonically involved, keep the story great, and also give players as individuals like more things to be excited about. Say like somebody who just picks up Halo Wars 2 is going to play it like, wow, this badass Atriox Chosen is so sick. Like, I love him. He just walked around. He's like super strong and he slows units and shit. Like, that's pretty cool. And I think that's a good move for them as a whole.
And to kind of go off on that as well, when you're talking about the leaders, on how they're not as viable as they used to be. You could also say that Halo Wars 1 was very heavily leader focused as well.
Yeah.
Because if you see, like, for example, a 3-star Brute Chieftain or a 3-star Arbiter, you're going to put all your attention on that because that'll just tear up your whole army if you're not careful.
Right.
But you don't have that problem in Halo Wars 2. I think the only time that you'll have a problem with a hero in Halo Wars 2 where it's just destroying everything, I think the only leader I can actually picture is a Hunter Captain with 2 skitters on it sitting in a garrison tower. Other than
which
that,
has
I'm
also
not really...
been patched.
Yeah,
Right,
which was nerfed as well.
Nerfed slightly, not really by extreme amounts, but it has been nerfed.
Is that part of this patch that just came out?
No, it was the previous one.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
They nerfed
Well, I mean, there was a
skitters
game...
and hunters. Yep.
June 28th is when that patch came out. Yeah, a couple
I mean,
days
there
ago.
was a game Ed and I were playing just a couple of days ago where we had our Hunter Captains with skitters in garrison towers, and it was still tearing stuff up.
Yeah. Right.
It was killing like armies of vultures, wasn't it? For
It
2 hours.
was. Yeah, we super turtled for 2 hours just killing vultures with our Hunter Captains. So, I mean, other than that, I'm not really, when I see a bunch of, even with Omega Team, honestly, I'm not really that worried about Omega Team. And honestly, in my opinion, I think Omega Team takes up way too much pop cap because that's 10 pop a Spartan. And I know they're cool and everything and they're badass or whatever, but honestly, I don't think they should have been 30 pop cap. I would argue for 20. I think 20 would be a solid number. But
Or
I mean, 20 is not
maybe.
divisible by 3, so maybe
15 would
18.
make sense.
18, make them all 6
I feel
pop
like
cap.
the heroes in general just need to be, because in Halo Wars 1, take for instance the Spartans, they were a threat, but they weren't a massive threat. They could jack the vehicles, and then you've lost the vehicle to it. But I feel like in Halo Wars 1, that you kind of see as a Spartan there's a Spartan on the field, and you go, yeah, he's not that big of a threat. The only thing with them is they seem too spongy. They die really quickly, and they just don't seem to have any sort of presence at all. And I think the same goes for every Banished hero too, apart from maybe, like we said, the Hunter Captain and Decimus, because I think Decimus is pretty good. He's got the weird brute shot, and he's got the hammer in his hand, hasn't he, as well? And as well, he has the what's he's called? The Aatrox's Chosen.
Yeah.
Which is it? That's got 2 kind of hero things. Anyway, yeah, I just don't think they have enough presence. And I think that could be easily fixed by making their abilities a little bit better. Maybe the Spartan Jack takes less time or something like that. And I think what it was with Halo Wars 1, I think veterancy played a big part in it, because if you could keep them alive for long enough, there was more reward in it. And in Halo Wars 2, when you get like level 3, it doesn't really make a huge difference. So in Halo Wars 1, you'd have had a level 3 Spartan. People would have focused that. Like, people would have made a big deal about killing that Spartan. That wouldn't really happen now because they're just useless to start with. You would never get to the position where you have a Spartan for level 3. And I think that's the problem. They need to make them more viable. And I don't really know how they'd go about that. Like I said, maybe make the hijack a little bit quicker or make them more powerful. I don't know. I really don't know I don't know what to suggest.
I think part of it is and I think they're really trying to make Jerome very similar to the Spartan presence in Halo Wars 1. If you really think about it, like the whole, the Spartans have a area where it inspires other units when they're in a certain radius close to them. I think that allows the Spartan to have a little bit more of a presence, not him directly, but indirectly having other units play better. And then also with the whole veterancy thing, you can, I don't even know the name of that power, but you can just drop it and it gives units 1 star.
Field promotion.
That thing.
I got you.
So I think they are trying to make it a little bit similar to Halo Wars 1 without modifying it too much. And I think it is cool that so much of Jerome's powers inspire other units. I think that was really creative. However, I honestly don't think it's that big of a difference changing, between when a unit's inspired and not inspired.
Powers and units, like, none of them are really that good.
Well, I think that's I think this is what they're trying to do, because with this most recent patch as well today, which is July 5th that we're recording this, they did also make almost all of the heroes globally the same cost. So you're looking at around 300 supply and 250 power. I believe Jerome and the Arbiter are 350 supply, 250 power. And I think Kinsano's like something weird, like I think she's 300 supply, like, I don't know, maybe like 270 power or something like that. I'm not sure. But I think their biggest goal here is to make it so that players choose their leaders differently depending on the hero that is associated with those leaders. Because I honestly think that that these heroes are game changers. They are, they're engagement changers, I want to say. So like in your first fight in the beginning of a game, these heroes are going to make that difference. So you as a player are going to choose a leader based on that. And I think with that mantra in mind, say like the late game situation, like Anders, people don't really use that much. Like Forge, people don't usually use that much. And like Isabel, I think I think the developers are trying to encourage players to use those units and those leaders more frequently by doing this mantra. So that way they're like, okay, cool. So, Forge, I guess late game isn't really as good, even though he's got rolling eco, all this crazy stuff, but he's got Forge's Warthog. So now that's a good reason to use him now because he has a strong unit at the beginning. And I think that might be working if that is their attack plan, because, I'm seeing things like Hunter Captain openers, just like you guys were talking about. I saw Atriox's Chosen, which I've seen in the past, just stop like Jackrabbit rushes with the slowdown shot. And then I've seen like Decimus Warlord, which I've never seen before. I've seen Alice, which is Isabel's starter. I've never seen that before in a game. So with these new changes, they are most certainly changing up the playstyle and making that variation happen. I'm just not exactly sure that, like you guys are saying, that the heroes make enough of an impact to continue down the same road.
I agree.
I think the purpose of the hero shouldn't be, where it stands on its own, but rather, because I think what they're trying to do with the heroes, they want it to be a part of a collective group, right? You don't want it to be a hero like in Halo Wars 1 where you're the RB who could rage down armies, right, if you had the right circumstances, or a chieftain who could vortex like 2 or 3 air units and then explode it onto a base and kill half a base, right? Where he gathers a bunch of stuff. So if you're reflecting on Halo Wars 1 and those leaders that were, or those leaders or those hero units that were so damn powerful, you don't really need them in an army, right? They were fine on their own and they were fine in an army. In this game, I think they're trying to steer away from the single leader gameplay.
Right.
If you put them in an army, and I think based on what they suggested in the very first patch notes where they said, you make them early in the game, the longer they survive, the better they'll be. That has to go along with the intention of having them mixed in with a bigger army. Mm-hmm. Their intention was clearly not to have 3 Mantises rush your main in the first 2.5 minutes.
Right.
So I think they're pushing it in the right direction, honestly. And I think if we look at heroes as a single unit, we're never gonna find a place for them. So I think in the right army composition, like Forge's Warthog, I can't remember off the top of my head because I've never made the unit except for an achievement. But I think what does he do? Does he give your guys extra XP or damage or something like that?
Yeah, extra DPS, I believe. Someone in the comments will correct us. Thank you, guys.
So exactly.
It's quite similar to Jerome, isn't it? He's got like an area of effect for units that's near him.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. If you take that and you put it in with the right army composition, it complements those armies and it makes them better. Him by himself, you push with a Forge Warthog at a main base, I don't know what you're going to get with it. Probably get killed pretty quickly.
A big L.
So as long as we're putting them with units and as long as they're improving behind the scenes, making these units viable in an army composition, I think they're in the right direction. I don't think they should be 2 minutes in, you shouldn't have a leader at your base. That's Halo Wars 1 stuff. Because clearly they've tried to move past that with everything they've done. So I think they're in the right direction. Make them more of an army composition unit that complements it. Keep them away from single units. I think that's the best way to do it.
And I do think with Halo Wars 2 that they've really also, the way that the game's just wholly designed is really to combat rushes and stop that. Because I really honestly feel like 343 doesn't approve of early game rushes. And I agree with them objectively because it takes no skill to rush. But if you're looking at just like the structure of your base, you no longer need any buildings to create combat units, because in Halo Wars 1, if you were to go for your economy first rather than making your units, someone shows up with a brute chieftain, I'm gone like the wind. I'm not playing that shit. I'm just going to quit on you.
Trying to make it more accessible, right?
Right, and in Halo Wars 2, if someone does the same thing to me, I'm not going to quit because I can just lock my base down, train like 5 or 6 Marine squads, and he's going to die. Because you can train your Marines at your main base. Your power is continuously increasing. It's not a like a binary type digit or anything. And your leader powers, you can get some decent leader powers pretty early on in the game as well. So I think that the way the game's just designed is really anti-rush, which I think is good, especially for players that are new to the game, because I could totally understand getting frustrated when someone shows up at your base with a brute chieftain, and dropping like brute choppers or suicide grunts or something like they did in Halo Wars 1. So I do
don't know
think
if
that they're
anti-rush is the right word though. They're making
No,
it just more
that's-
accessible where you can, if you get rushed, you have the ability to stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's a
then
better term.
play the game. Because in Halo Wars 1, to bring it back, you had the Arbiter, you could suicide grunt. If the other team wasn't rushing and you showed up with an Arbiter and suicide grunts and they weren't ready for it, you lost. You have no chance of coming back. In this game, like you said, you can pump out a few Marines in your main base. You can repel it much more easier. So I think it's not an anti-rush game, but it gives you the option to think. You have a few seconds, right? You have I think a lot more time in this game compared to the other one. You have a few seconds to figure out what's the plan. Okay, I've got Marines on my base. I've got Jackrabbits or Ghosts or whatever. I can deter this, and I have leader powers. So probably more accessible.
Yeah, which is
Well,
good, right?
All players.
I appreciate
Yeah, I think
you
that's the best way to do it.
correcting me there, and in respect
Whoa.
to your correction, I'll shut my channel down.
Whoa, I'll take the keys.
So maybe they have to kind of fix the relationship between the way the units interact with other units, or the heroes interact with other units, I should say, and the effect they have on friendlies. Because currently, with the Hunter Captain, he's quite the presence, especially when he's in a garrison. But we want to be using him more for his abilities rather than his damage output. So maybe they need to put more emphasis on, like we said, mixing them into an army rather than their initial damage or presence. I think that's probably the problem at the moment, which they're trying to figure out with these balance changes. They should just incentivize their leader specific abilities. Like, for instance, with Jerome, he's got the area of effect. They need to make that more of a feature of him rather than the Mantis. That's what needs to happen.
Right, kind of level the playing
Ed's
field,
right, and Andrew is wrong completely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Objectively.
yeah, as always.
Yes, as always, yeah.
Yep. Hashtag Team Respawn sucks. Put it in the comments.
Also, to even push this train even further, these heroes do have certain variations. And I was actually running through this with Nick earlier on. So you've got physical melee units out of these heroes that can only do damage when they are within close proximity to other units, right? So they have to be say a hammer brute has to be on top of an infantry unit to hit it. Same concept with Decimus Warlord. And then, of course, you also have the projectile units like Atriox Chosen on the flip side there. Then, of course, all the Spartans shoot from range, Johnson shoots from range, and then you have, say, the Arbiter and the Honor Guard, who are, say, physical units, just like the Decimus Warlord. So you also have all these guys who are different playstyle. Like, say, if you're going to run a melee-style unit, you really have to have other units that can support it to kind of be bullet sponges, or at least help you kind of swarm an enemy army and get that unit involved, because otherwise any skilled player can just kite an Arbiter or kite an Honor Guard and just dodge the entire engagement completely, making that hero basically null and void.
So how would you go about fixing it? Because currently I don't see a use for melee heroes in any capacity.
Yeah, I'm in the same kind of concept as you. I think you need to continuously do things like, say, the Warlord, for example. I think is a perfect basically like the pinnacle of example on how to have a hero melee unit. So like the Warlord has the Gravity Hammer pull, which is canonical. It's in the books, in the stories. You've seen it in Halo 3, where he physically pulls a unit that you manually select, or say if you're just in the engagement, he'll pull a unit towards himself and get the hammer smash on it. And the damage from the hammer is very, very significant. Even after this patch, the hammer smash, I guarantee you, is strong enough to at least be like, oh shit, that unit's going to die right there. And then sometimes you have other features like stun or things like that. With the Honor Guard, I think that's a very underpowered and weak hero, which might be okay in the whole balance of the Shipmaster, because Shipmaster is such a good leader in general. But say like the Honor Guard itself, like it will just get kited until it's completely roasted, shields and all. It may have fast speed, which is really helpful towards the idea. It's actually, I want to say, the fastest unit maybe in the game, despite Jackrabbits and Ghosts. Somebody can correct me on that also. So like maybe if he was a little bit faster even, or maybe his his DPS timing was just a little bit quicker, so that way whenever he sprints up to unit, he can hit it and get it weak. But I just think like the Arbiter is a prime example, even with his special ability, which I believe is technically a form of rage. Even in the Arbiter can't do anything against, say, Ghosts or anything like that, any scout units, he'll just get kited, right? And then when you look at the Honor Guard, same kind of situation where you just kind of scoot away and you don't deal with that. So I think you really need to tweak as a developer to make those melee units a little more significant. You have to tweak the way they attack, you have to tweak their speed, and you have to tweak their effects on units. Like, say, what if you made all the melee units, like whenever they connected a hit, it stunned a unit? Like, what if they did something like that?
Step in the right
That's
direction.
quite an interesting idea, which I'm going to follow up with a another interesting idea. So we've been talking about heroes being more of a thing that you add to an army. How about a change where to build a hero you have to have a certain amount of units on the battlefields before you can even build the unit?
That would be really cool.
So you have to have 10 pop cap on the battlefield to even build your hero. I think that would encourage it being used in the way that we're just discussing. And it would stop all the bullshit rushes with hunter captains and mantises and what have you. And like I said, it would just encourage it being used as part of a cohesive army.
Yeah, like a utility, right? Like essentially,
Yeah.
that's what the heroes, they're trying to push them into utility roles where they just kind of fill that slot in the army composition, as Nick was saying.
Right.
Or you could just not rush.
I mean that would never happen, Andrew. You can't just go, hey guys, just don't rush, because if you do, it will break the game. You need to have a definite way of stopping things happening. If it's
right,
you know, a
and that's what
If
they're
I
doing,
worked at Creative Assembly, I would put a patch in the game to where if your units cross over my half side of the map, because the maps are all symmetrical, you have 10 seconds before your base blows up.
Pat, kick him out of the call. He's gotten aggressive.
He's gone rogue.
He's untamed.
He's gone rogue. Okay, so let me tell you this. Okay, Andrew.
Okay.
All right. If I were to make, say, full pop ghosts and then push your base before 5 minutes, and you were able to defend that, would
Andrew
you be
was
okay?
gone before 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, right. Obviously, he's already resigned. But in a world where you stay, all right, would you be okay
We
if
are
you could
pretty
defend
good
it?
at super turtling.
Right. Okay. So there's a prime example, right?
So you should have no excuses then. You survived the initial attack.
So if you can survive the initial
maybe.
rush, then maybe you're okay, right?
If we stay at our base for longer than an hour, our base explodes. Well, how about that, Andrew?
There you go. There's two sides to this, Andrew.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, Ed and I are such shit at Halo Wars 2. We don't win by actually beating them with strategy. We win by playing long enough to where they get tired of it and they just quit.
And their parents turn off their Xbox.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Mommy
we're
plays the
like
Ethernet.
old age.
Oh,
Like, we
Jesus.
spent way too much time on this shit. We're out. That's how Ed and I win games.
Yo, I'm out.
Yeah, but Pat, you brought up the point of how do you make melee heroes viable?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way to do it.
You don't think so?
And to reference back to Halo Wars 1, the Brute Chieftain, he was your melee hero, correct? He had a vortex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you weren't meleeing or you weren't in the range to melee, you could vortex. There's no way to do that in this game.
Right.
There's no leader that has the ability to counter units that are, to use the phrase you were using, kiting earlier. You don't have that option. You get shit on. And with the way that the game is built, currently there is no way to add a vortex or something of that sort. Or I don't know what you do for energy swords, but
Right, because you'd
you
break
don't
the
have
game.
that ability.
You'd break the sandbox that you have established.
So
I
I think
know that
there's
too.
no way to do melee heroes. You can make them quicker. You can do more damage per second, but it doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of things in the early game because you would have to update that and make it. You would have to some part of their upgrades would have to encourage that or change that about them. And by then it's too late. You might as well not even have the hero unit. When I went up against, I think I was going up against Gabe. He had four Marines, and I went rage mode with the Arbiter in Halo Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
He slashed one and died. That was it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he was fully upgraded or anything like that.
Right.
But then again, that's not anything near what Halo Wars 1 was, right? So again, I don't know if melee heroes can be changed in any capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Make them viable.
They have to be,
I think.
Yeah, right. They have to be something
I
different.
think that. Yeah, I don't think they were the right thing to do in this game.
Okay.
Especially with the way that they built it.
So on that note, all right, so we've just talked about the heroes now in their new spot in the meta and how strong they are and how they're basically utilities. To wrap everything up, guys, like, are you okay with the utility concept? Are you okay with having these heroes, say, be one of the first units you make out of your army composition? Are you okay with them filling in that role? And are you okay with them just kind of just at least seeing them every single game? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think as long as they, have a good benefit pertaining to their cost.
Right.
If you think you can get your money's worth out of them, then sure. I think honestly the best bang for your buck in terms of leaders are like Jerome, Colony, Aatrox's Chosen, leaders like that. I think that's a good viable option. But people like Forge or even Sergeant Johnson, I would say, are I'm not I would argue against it. I think it all just depends on what leader you're using. But yeah, I think every leader helps you in some way, shape, or form.
Here's another one for you.
No.
You can't use your leader powers without having a hero on the battlefield.
Oh, Jesus, more ideas. I'm trying to change the sandbox some more.
Trying to make
Ed
them
Peter.
so it incentivizes you to have a hero in your composition of your army, in the way of not being able to use hero powers if they're not on the field. And maybe you have to use the hero to call in the leader powers. So you click on them, and then they've got the little circle that pops up. These are all crazy ideas that I have swimming around in my head.
You should just have your channel tagline be Ed Peter, complicating Halo Wars since 2017.
Consistent complications, yes.
Yeah. Introducing issues that weren't there.
Well, that would be a fun unranked playlist idea. Like, just saying.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, you know, like, but I digress. I think we could talk about that for another, 24 days, so.
Well, let me just add on to that.
Yeah,
what if they had a
ahead. All right,
playlist
here he goes.
where they just, did random tweaks to the gameplay? Just to,
yeah, what
test
if they had a
things out?
playlist? Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, no, look, I'm just saying.
They don't even have playlists.
Why not make a playlist for a thing where you're testing games so they can update things on the fly, get feedback on the fly based on that, unranked on all that.
All right, I'll throw out a playlist idea for you.
Oh, God.
You start the game with 3 minutes. Okay, no, that's too short. 5 minutes on the clock. At 5 minutes, your base blows up. You got to go find another base every 5 minutes.
All right, that's really cool.
And you can only have one base and one mini base at a time.
It's like King of the Hill, except your base is the hill, and it's
Yes,
always moving.
That's really cool.
That is really cool. All right,
You
guys.
could call
I'd
it
say-
Hold on, before we end this,
people. No,
I've got
okay,
the comment
Nick's still
question.
going.
I've
All
got
right.
the comment question. I
Call
got the
the
comment question of the
playlist Team
episode.
Respawn.
Yeah, or base respawn.
Base
Or,
respawn.
here's my idea for
Team
a
Ed
playlist.
Peter.
Halo Wars
no.
Definitive Edition with actual multiplayer.
Oh boy, this is going off the rails. Are we still doing the comment question of the podcast?
Hell
Do you
yeah,
guys
we
still want
are.
to do that?
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I've got two right here. Okay, I've been scavenging the past two podcasts. First, is this PC gameplay? Probably not. That's probably not what that is. And the other one is the Arbiter similar to Shipmaster? Yes. All
I
right,
did
thank you guys.
Mythbusters on that.
Yes.
That was it. Guys, leave better comments for the questions. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
you're worse than Team Respawn, guys. Come on.
No,
They're
nothing's
actually good at
worse than that. No,
Mythbusters thing,
just
which is better, the Arbiter or the Shipmaster or the Honor Guard.
Yeah, watch the Mythbusters. We did it.
I think Sherman Expert did that too.
And on that note, we end. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of the Banished podcast. We have been joined by, let's see, who am I? I'm BtC Slick. We have BtC Nick, Ed Peter from Ed Peter, and Andrew from Team Respawn.
My name is Chicka Slim Shady.
Until next time, guys.
Peace.